So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to March's full parish council meeting. We'll start with the standard housekeeping. There are no planned fire alarms. The alarm should sound. Please exit the building using the nearest available exit. Once leaving the building, please make your way to the muster point, which is located by the staff car park and is identified by a green sign positioned in the shrub bed. Please make yourself known to a member of staff if on duty. This meeting is being recorded. The meeting may also be recorded and broadcast by the press and members of the public, and please see Section 8 of the Guidance for Public Participation, including recording and use of social media at meetings. Thank you. So move on to this evening's agenda. Firstly, thank you for councillors and members of the public coming out tonight. Declarations of interest and dispensation. No? No? Thank you very much. So we move on to apologies.
Councillor Melody Roberts.
I haven't heard from Councillor Jones or Clark. So.
Chairman, that Councillor Roy Jones has sent apologies because a bit late.
Okay. Thank you. So we now move on to our community safety update. Unfortunately, the police have been unable to join us. We didn't have any communication to advise one way or another, did we?
Not yet. We usually do, but not.
Okay. So have we had any updates at all from the police?
Not at the moment.
Okay, thank you. So, councillors, if you could then move to the community safety update section B, which is regarding the ACSO's attachment and their report. Have we all had an opportunity to read this? Do you have any questions or discussion points or feedback?
Yeah,
Councillor Wade.
Chairman, we had a meeting with the police this week and the ACSOs, and the police have proposed to actually improve the communication links so we can provide a better joint level of service to people of Hythe Dibden. So we improved their communication, and we looked at other various ways of making the two organisations work better together. And they came up some good ideas, which we look forward to helping the public in dealing with community safety issues. Thank you.
Councillor Wade, will you be briefing us later on your discussion with CCTV? Will you be briefing us later on your discussion with Brian Byrne in your NFDC or county report?
Well, I wasn't going to necessarily because that was the meeting I'm talking about, but I can talk about it later if you wish, Chairman.
It's more of a procedural matter that we'll carry through.
Okay, no worries, thank you. So now move on to the minutes from our January full council meeting. This was held on the 25th of January 2023. There's 6 pages to go through. So councillors, we'll go through them page by page. If you've got any challenges, then please raise your hand and let me know, okay? So we start with page 1. Now, confusingly, it's also referred to as page 7 in the agenda, but page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. And lastly, it's intentionally blank. So are we all happy there? A fair reflection of January's minutes? Okay, can you all vote in favour, please? Thank you. Moving on. So we now move on. Section 5 in the agenda, which is Chairman's announcements. The Parish Council is intending to submit a further planning application for the works on a bund at Prospect Place open space. This is intended as part of flood prevention works and has involved extensive effort by local resident, parish officers and local councillors. We are hopeful the next application will be considered appropriate for the site. Alongside councillors, past and present, I attended the funeral of former parish and district councillor Graham Parks last month. It was a very moving service, and Graham's son gave a very moving eulogy about his father. It was a very well attended service, with many wishing to pay their respects to such a wonderful man and servant to this community. The council said goodbye to Parish Development Officer Helen Bradley last month. Helen has worked at the Parish Council for almost 20 years, and in that time been instrumental in so many achievements, projects and events the Parish Council has delivered for our community. These include Revital Hythe and Cinema, Hythe of Activity and the Mistletoe Fair, and the council wishes her all the best in her future adventures, and we are currently recruiting for the Parish Development Officer role. As of this Monday, 20th of March, ahead of May the 4th local elections, there will be a purdah period in which councillors and council need to ensure they are adhering to the rules set by the pre-election process. This council, as with others, must not publish any material which in whole or in part appears to be designed to affect public support for a political party, nor should we issue any publicity that seeks to influence voters. Decision making remains business as usual, and the council can still issue press releases on factual matters as long as individual councillors or groups are not identified. Councillors can still respond to media requests in a personal capacity as long as they're not using council resources. Last week saw the official opening of Hythe Hospital, which was due to have the event in December. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend, but the parish was well represented by many of you in attendance, and see a few of you today, alongside our local MP, who officially opened the hospital. It is already up and running and providing many vital services to our residents. The new imaging suite has been named in honour of the wonderful John Carr, who is chairman of the League of Friends, and due to his hard work and passion for delivering that new hospital. I would also add, personally, that the prominent inclusion of the War Memorial on the site is an important part of this fantastic, almost new facility. And lastly, just a reminder that if you know of any local people who support our community and show brilliant community spirit or passion for protecting the environment, please ensure you are nominating them for 2023's Community Spirit and Environmental Awards and sharing the nomination information to the wider community. So that's councillors, please promote it where you can, and members of the public, it's an opportunity for you to promote your friends and neighbours. Thank you. We now move on to reports by county and district members, which is item 6 on the agenda. Have you received anything from Councillor McAvoy?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Malcolm Wade, you're next.
Thank you, Chairman. Busy 2023 with challenges facing local government in relation to funding and social care in particular means there's an uncertain future unless a more appropriate level of funding is provided by central government for the county council. The budget of over 2 billion is stretched to the limit, and the Chief Financial Officer refers to a budget gap of £53 million in 2023/24 to be balanced by use of the BBR Budget Bridging Reserve. It will give a final update for the budget gap for 2024 is 57.7 million and is set in the Revenue and Budget report to Cabinet, which is then further reduced to 50.8 million after additional funding is added. The whole situation underpinned by significant growth in inflation and demand. And as you all know, inflation has gone up this month, not down as they predicted. The need to increase contributions to the budget bridging reserve to allow things to happen, including the change of policy of the use of early delivery savings, which is recommended, are now added to the budget bridging reserve. The future without change of government funding looks bleak for County Council, with a projected budget gap of 132 million for 25-26, making it impossible to balance budget and meet demand without extra funding for the fundamental change to local government funding. Council tax, Hampshire County Council only. The council tax requirement for the County Council for the year beginning the 1st of April 2023 will be 781,761,571.99p. I don't know where that comes from. The County Council's banding tax for the year beginning the 1st of April 2023 is £1,460.25, an increase of 4.99%, of which 2% is specifically for adult social care. An interesting statistic, the New Christ District Council's tax base is £105,534,749.92, the largest amount of council tax collected by any district in Hampshire. And now, important, of course, to local residents, Redbridge Causeway Work Package 3 concrete repairs update, next stage. It's quite short. Once the works have been completed, the next phase of the Work Package 3 works directly on traffic affecting the A35 eastbound carriageway can be carried out. These comprise the installation of concrete cover slabs, re-waterproofing to the north footway of the causeway, followed by a complete replacement of the bridge deck, waterproofing and carriageway surfacing to all 3 bridges supporting the eastbound carriageway, Redbridge West, Redbridge East and Redbridge Road. This is currently programmed to take place from the 17th of April until late July 2023. The work carried out may be during normal working weekday hours only, except for 4 weekend closures. I'll come into that. as some operations will be noisy. Traffic management required to carry out the work safely is as follows. North Footway closed from Monday the 17th of April until mid-June. Eastbound A35 Lane 1 closed from Monday the 17th of April until mid-June. Eastbound Lane 2 closed from mid-June until late July. Now please note the next point. Eastbound A35 full closure closed 24/7 for up to 3 weekends from 8 p.m. Friday until 6 a.m. Monday between mid-June and late July. Both the Tottenham on-slip way and off-slip to Redbridge roundabout will remain open except during the weekend works when they will be closed because the whole road is closed. The Redbridge Causeway South Footway will remain open throughout the entire works. They will give us more details of which weekends it will close near the time. But do not be under any illusion, this is a significant disruption to local residents. And one final report, Chairman, which sadly I have to say, a portion of Hythe is in South Waterside County Council Division. The County Councillor who represents that has now been drummed out by the Conservative Party because of a racist tweet. And the same has happened to this individual on the District Council. It's really residents in South Waterside.
We've been heard, so we can't discuss that anymore.
So any residents in the First Down district of South Waterside fear they won't be represented. They can of course come to me as a Hythe Dibden Parish councillor because the fact there's an arbitrary line through one ward is neither here nor there. The final word to say that it's sad that
Councillor Wade, I agree with you, and in fact I was one of the people who complained that I don't want to during Perda continue this particular.
No, I was going to give some sort of leader of the county council. The leader of the county council has given a very appropriate and sensible response on this. Sadly, no other local Conservative has criticised.
Okay, that's okay.
Make of that what you will.
Councillor Wade, I told you twice. Okay, so it's Perda period. The courses we weighed our complaints.
Chairman, excuse me, I hate to say this. Further period doesn't cover councillors, it only covers.
We're in a parish council meeting, and I would be cautious about doing that. Disagree. Councillor Cullen, we're going to move on to District Council reports. Councillor Cullen, please.
You're not right, isn't it?
I, with a number of other councillors, again attended the opening of the Hythe Hospital, and as you rightly said, John Carr was honoured, but also mention was made of lots of other input, and how it's been a community effort to get this off the ground. With yourself and Councillor Dowd, I attended the Housing and Oversight Scrutiny Panel, NFEC. Both of you asked very pertinent questions, so I will refer to your reports.
Okay, Councillor Delaire.
Nothing much to report, Chairman, except that I was rather pleased to be able to, along with fellow councillors from my NFDC Community Engagement Grant, able to help with the top-up funding for Families Matter, which are struggling with the cost of living. But hopefully that will be all well plugged.
Thank you, Councillor Delaire. Alphabetical clearly, Councillor Dowd.
Thank you, Chair. I attended the Cabinet meeting on the 1st of March and asked for clarification of what constitutes a rural business that can benefit from the Government Rural Fund. There's a fairly clear level of guidance on what constitutes a rural area, but not what can be considered as a rural business. So I'm hoping that we'll get clarification on that so that local businesses can apply should they comply. I attended the Housing and Homelessness meeting on the 15th of March, which Councillor Cullen has referred to. The point I'll raise tonight is in the private housing enforcement policy. I asked for specific reference to safety standards for minors and vulnerable people, particularly in homes of multiple occupancy. Councils across the country have noted a spike in concerns as more family groups are being housed in such places. I think that will conclude my district report. Thank you.
Councillor Osborne.
Thank you, Chairman. I attended the Environmental and Sustainability Committee at the NFDC. Spoke about various issues to do with our area, but one issue I was asked to look into and have a meeting with David Hurd, who's the enforcement officer, and that was really interesting. We had a team's meeting with the dog training school owner and behaviourist Jeanette Muldoon. There's concerns over the forest and the small minority of people that need to know that their dogs, if they're not under control or have a good recall, need to be on a long lead at least, and work on, you know, getting their dogs better behaved on the forest, because there's going to be keepers out there watching and attending in the car park from now on, we think. I attended Hythe Hospital, and it was great to see John Carr awarded with a plaque to say the image suite was named after him. So that was brilliant. Heatherstone Avenue and Armwood open spaces, the bulbs are in, the trees have arrived, and I don't know if they're in. I think they could be, the spots are marked, and the benches arrived too, so I know you were interested in that. I've had quite a few complaints as a district council about the Oakland car park being overfull, and cars parking around side roads and down on the Roman road, so I'm actually looking into that as well. A very interesting person contacted me to do with it's to do with supporting and complementing the NHS, and they are called actually Bosom Pals. So I'm going to arrange a Teams meeting with them soon if you are interested in being on that. It's where cutbacks have gone to such extent, mothers have been told to go on YouTube or go online to learn things, and there was no facilities. So they're trying to set something up, and I've got two contacts that I've got it written down what they are, NHS links. So I should be able to meet with them soon, and the NHS things at work for them as well. Water can, do you want to hear about water can?
That's probably not a district council report, that might be, as a chairman aware, for later on. Outside body, yes.
That's it.
Okay, Councillor Malcolm Wade, I'll go and ask district council report.
Of course. Well, the New Forest District Council's budget finances are once again in a positive state, thanks to them receiving extra funds from the government. It is not in the financial review, so an opportunity to improve some of the district issues. As the opposition, we propose the following fully costed budget by the Chief Financial Officer, and the four options were put together on the following items: cost of living, community safety, environment, well-being and public transport. A couple of examples: we have more children on free school meals in the New Forest district. The majority are in the waterside, percentage-wise, and Hampshire as a whole is 17.9%, and only 17.1% for the county as a whole. This equates to 3,385 New Forest school children, up from 3,339 the last year, when I brought it to the attention of the council the last time. We will put some initial funding in to work with other agencies to try and address the issue. No waterside or New Forest child should be subject to child poverty. Also, to help shoppers and local traders, propose to freeze the price of the parking clocks in all our car parks, then provide one free tower parking clock per New Forest Council tax-paying residents where there is car ownership or town and village centre car parks. This one-year trial will help residents by reducing the cost of parking in their pocket and support our retail outputs by encouraging people to shop and stay local. All items are fully costed with no impact on the level of council tax needing to be collected or affecting the medium-term financial management plan. They give to the people and businesses in New Forest help and support in the current financial crisis, which the council can afford to do. However, the administration did not wish to support any of these initiatives and voted against them. The council tax rise, if you just say whether it was our budget or the administration's, is 2.99%, which for NFDC alone is £193.99 for a abandoned property. Last year, another huge 1.5 million underspend identified in the budget outturn, which is usually plus or minus 3%. Here it was around 8% underspend, which was put into reserves, adding to the 1.2 million they siled away in the budget. Some of the money could have been used to help strengthen New Forest residents in the cost of living crisis. New Forest needs to do things differently, and if we are to move forward positively in these challenging times, it will be the voters' decision on May the 4th. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
I'll email them.
And that goes to all councils. If you could email your reports, obviously, to the clerk. She does have a copy of mine. It's a bit waffly as always, but I won't talk about the budget. Grant funding. NFTC councillor grant requests are closed until the new council is elected. Like fellow councillors, we focus on ensuring that allocation is shared with wonderful local organisations before the deadline, and any further requests will have to be after the new allocations are assigned to the new NFTC councillors from 4th of May. I won't talk about the budget. We've got Freedom Leisure. There'll be a new contract manager tasked with overseeing the leisure centre and Dibden Golf contracts, appointed in upcoming weeks. I have been challenging officers on ensuring feedback and customer engagement is prioritised by the new officer, and although the response suggested complaints must go through Freedom first, if escalated they will come to this role. And I've had to raise many issues with the previous officer due to unsatisfactory or non-existent responses from Freedom. I'll continue my remaining time to push for a stronger focus on customer engagement and dealing with the issues raised. Furthermore, NFTC will be paying a higher than previously agreed management fee to Freedom of up to 27k. Housing. I attended the Housing Homes panel of this council. We were updated on the good news. 6 affordable homes in Lady Cross Road have been completed with many green energy initiatives and off-road parking. Furthermore, the site next to Hythe Hospital with 22 new properties has official planning, which is a positive step for the local families on the housing list. And I know the police station remains a site of interest NFTC and is on the radar. Local members continue to push for that site. There are several sites across the district NFTC are looking as of interest. Officers are doing all they can, but the ruling group have made an issue of 600 affordable homes by 2026, but a third aren't even secured sites, and there's a risk this figure won't be reached by the target. However, if NFTC are outbid by a housing association, then in theory we still provide affordable homes for those on the waiting list. However, currently 314 are confirmed with 110 in the firm pipeline homes. I spoke to the portfolio holder to ask if he felt we were in a position to reach the target, and he responded that when the target was set, he felt it was always a stretch and how it's important to have affordable housing delivered by others. He referenced challenges such as COVID, the wider industry. It was a thoughtful response, but I still feel it could, we could be more ambitious for this target. A brilliant presentation on the great work by the provision of a mental health practitioner was shared, and I asked about resilience and long-term funding of a project that clearly has a huge benefit. The council has seen more skills and confidence developed through this new role and improved its approach to tenants struggling with mental health issues. There was a private sector housing strategy which discussed with a focus on engaging with landlords and working on issues such as damp, mould and electrical concerns. There was only one current rough sleeper in the district reported following a significant amount of work supporting a cohort of rough sleepers in the area who are now majority housed. Numbers in emergency accommodation have dropped since January, 25%, it's about 25% drop for families and singles, with 31 current nominations for temporary accommodation and the housing register among the 49 families and singles in those temporary accommodation. However, the housing register has seen numbers rise since January, with 1,629 households required housing. Only 33 allocated homes so far in 2023, which is trending sort of below the previous years. 44% of those require 1 beds and 32% require 2 beds. A point I raised is that how we need to be working on moving those in large properties to smaller homes, yet NFTC has to manage the largest need, which is for those small bed properties. I also attended Community Leisure and Overview. It was a presentation on the actions, projects and partnership working as we have a health and wellbeing plan in the New Forest. I asked questions on a lack of reference to cycling engagement and safe cycle routes, and I was advised they'll be considered at a future stage. I also asked about the accessibility to community facilities, and it was advised that they're going to work on engaging isolated residents at the food larders in and around the district. It was an encouraging document. It does feel lacking in some areas and we should continue to develop. There was a presentation on fly tipping, which was really interesting yet sadly quite disappointing. Despite the street scene enforcement team's fantastic efforts, reported fly tipping has risen from 2015 from 770 annual instances to 891. There was nearly 1,200 during 2021 for COVID, but obviously there were extenuating circumstances and the tips were closed. Enforcement are making real strides in trying to identify those responsible, and just last week I did manage to get a significant amount of sides away, just drive down from Tesco's on the right hand side moved. Reporting by officers is being improved and encouraged, and I did ask the responsible officer that he felt the changing of rules of what you dispose of, and without charging recycling sites, he contributed. So a lot of building materials have been found dumped in and around the district. I've also asked for the issue to be strongly considered as part of the waste strategy for wheelie bins, and litter continues to be a consistent issue all over the district. The total budget for this team and service and vehicles is 1.7. And lastly, casework, like you're very busy few months, drainage, streets, planning, housing, removal of boats, among other issues. It's worth noting, irrelevant of all the elections, everyone here is still a council, so May the 4th, it's your main job, so residents have a duty to expect it from us, and it's casework first, elections for seconds. So we're now going to move on to item 7, which is reports from members serving on outside bodies. Do we have any? Okay. So I'm going to start with a couple of councillors who haven't spoken already. So we'll start with Alan, then Vicky, and then we'll go Philip and Steph.
Thank you, Chairman. The HPHA, the volunteers at Hythe appear to continue with the work in repairing, making new for the third carriage, and also with the cleaning and painting of the chassis and moving parts for the motor unit, so that the engineers in the pier workshop can reassemble it. So that's all progressing well. As you mentioned, we managed with your help to get the wreck of a boat off the foreshore to tidy the area up. The plans for Rockland Pier this year are well underway, so that should be hopefully a success, and things are just progressing. We're still waiting to hear the outcome of negotiations. This is what's going to happen with the ferry and pier, although the chairman of HPHA has met a couple of times with prospective buyers to give them all the information that we've got on plans, surveys, reports, so that they know what they're getting into if they buy it. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I went along to the National Park South East Quadrant meeting a couple of weeks ago. Most matters did, of course, relate to the more rural areas, the forest, speeding, livestock feeding, and the attempts that the various parties involved were trying to do to limit. It was disappointing to know that the majority of animal deaths in the forest are done by those that are considered local to the New Forest and not holiday makers. Discussions included the closure of the car parks for the repairs and major works at Hatchett's Pond, which were causing some concerns to the councillors around that area, and that the ice cream van had been moved on to Lyndhurst, which was a threat to those ice cream parlours in Lyndhurst as far as the Lyndhurst councillors were concerned. But generally similar ones are trying to protect our own traders. And finally, I think the only discussion that didn't really happen was whether or not Dibden Bay was really a concern to anyone else, given that it's on our proximity and really out of the area for the rest of them.
Thank you. Councillor Dowd.
Thank you. First of all, the Waterside Climate Action Network, we've had a number of meetings since the last report. The group is starting to work on a number of projects. We're very pleased to have the New Forest District Council Climate Sustainability Officer visit our last meeting on the 20th to outline her role in the council and how she hopes to engage with the community. I'll leave that there to allow Councillor Osborne to say more. Twinning Association on the 14th of March. Unfortunately, it's clear that the Twinning Association can no longer continue in the same form as before the pandemic. It's hoped that links will continue on a more informal basis after this summer's visit. Waterside Arts Festival, which is on the 8th to the 16th of July. An energised team is putting the plan together for this summer. A great deal of work has already gone into contacting venues, and arts funding is being sought to ensure that there's a good range of workshops and interaction, as well as a variety of local talent. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Dowd. Councillor Osborne.
Okay, so the water can group that we formed quite a few months ago has now filled the official places mostly, and Philip has ended up as temporary chairman, which he does really well. This week we had a talk on greener energy, and that was done by one of the members who has done his house to such an extent it hardly cost him a penny with installation, windows, etc. So he's very, very interesting to listen to. He thinks we can all do it if we just learn. The group itself is actually called the Waterside Climate Action Network, so if anyone wants to Facebook it, we have actually got the Facebook up and running and some articles going on there. We are still hoping to get a website going, but it hasn't proved as simple as some of the members hoped. It's about bringing local groups that maybe are already established together and projects aimed at environmental protection and enhancement with the intention of sharing information. And the Climate Committee all agreed that we would use the chamber and allow the group to meet here until funds are raised. But the bank account is open this week as well, so hopefully we'll attract some interest from some outside bodies that are interested. I think the thing that happened this week was I've got it here. We're hoping to put a post in the Herald as soon as possible, and it'll explain, but the IPCC, which is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, set out a stark warning that there is a rapidly closing window of opportunity to secure a livable and sustainable future for us all. So it is a serious group that are trying to really actually do some action.
Thank you, Councillor Osborne. Any other members and outside bodies wish to speak? Well, I'll tell you what, we've rattled through that compared to January's meeting. So it takes us already on to item 8. Thank you, members of the public, for your patience. So before we get to members within the room, any written questions submitted by electors unable to attend the meeting?
We have one question from a parishioner who I think is questioning the cables on the roads around the parish. And I think you might have referred that to the county council of the area.
I have made inquiries with the county council on that very issue. Funny enough, that's psychic. I was going to ask him anyway, and I wait for him to come back.
And are we happy to write to the resident advising the response?
I can do that.
Thank you.
Well, if I get it, I'll forward it to you. It's not a problem.
Okay.
Actually, I think council would be quite interested to hear that, the response as well, Chairs, for the parish. Thank you.
They are called pneumatic tubes. And the weight of a car going over this sets the pressure next to the recording device. That's what they're called. I had to look them up.
I'm sure most people are fairly famous on potholes. But moving on to electors to address the meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, who wishes to address the meeting? Okay. Mr. Slipper as well. Thank you. So we'll start with Mr. Twidell, then Mr. Kitcher, then Mr. Slipper. Is there anyone else who I've missed? No? Okay, sorry. Mr. Twidell, the floor is yours, sir.
Right, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can anyone?
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's more of a statement than a question, actually. I was looking at the item on the agenda about Ballydean, and I was pleased to see that you're going to discuss about the non-response from Southern Water regarding their proposal to reclassify the pipe. Now, we know that they started this protocol to try and reclassify the pipe, and that the 180 days period has expired the end of December. Now, you've chased them up, I've chased them up, Roger Bird's chased them up. I've actually chased them up twice. Had no response or acknowledgement whatsoever, and I presume the council haven't.
Correct.
So, you know, you're saying on the item here to consider taking legal action. Well, quite frankly, I think you need to. The council is the major owner of the pipe, if you like, on their parish land. We've got the vast majority of the land. So you've got an obligation to taxpayers to actually challenge Southern Water. I mean, the argument before was that you wouldn't challenge Southern Water because you accepted their investigations. But now the position has changed because you rejected their reclassification of the pipe from a public sewer to a private sewer. Legally, and we've checked this all out, legally that pipe is a public sewer as per the maps on the New Forest District Council. So Southern Water can't change that. They're not going through with their protocol. We haven't heard from them for 3 months. The only way they could possibly change it is by going to court or whatever, which is probably unlikely to do. So what we've done, we've contacted Water UK, as Southern Water were going by the Water UK protocol. And we said to them, well, look, they've started this, they arranged a meeting, they showed us what the protocol was, they had this 180-day period to obviously go back on any objections, etc., which we've done. But that's it, we haven't heard from them for 3 months. They say, although it's their protocol, they cannot regulate it, which is a bit bizarre. So they've said to us, you will need to contact Ofwat as the regulating body for water companies. So we've contacted Ofwat, and first of all, Ofwat said, we're not sure if it comes under our remit on this particular issue. Dr. Roger Bird, who's been obviously working for us on this, he challenged them on that. They had an internal discussion or investigation, whatever you want to call it, and then they finally came back and said, oh, it's still not within our remit. So it seems that Southern Water are not regulated by anybody. So, you know, what happens now? We can't take on Southern Water as residents. A, we haven't got the resources, and B, we haven't got the clout. Where the parish council, being a local government authority, must have a clout to go against Southern Water. So, you know, you must do something. You can't just kick the can down the road for the next council. I don't know what you can do. It's obviously it's up to you to decide, legal or whatever. Possibly you can contact Julian Lewis because he's, you know, prepared to help. So I don't know. The ball's in your court now, but you cannot defer it. You must do something. You know, as I say, you've got the responsibility of taxpayers as the majority owner of that pipe. So, you know, I can't see any alternative. I mean, it now brings the issue that we have on the boundary dispute as completely irrelevant.
Is that the end of the...
That's it. You know, there's not any more I can say about it.
No, I just didn't want to interrupt you. Still have more to say, sorry.
Yeah.
As you know, we've got it on the agenda this evening
yeah.
for full council to discuss, unfortunately in private session. I think every council's heard what you said and all the individual points, the issues with communication, the efforts that you've gone so far, the efforts that Mr. Bird has gone so far, and that gives us the points to discuss later in the meeting. I do appreciate you coming down and sharing that and coming down to the meeting and actually engaging with us on that. I don't, you know, the councillors in this room will have to have a real proper discussion about what the appropriate next steps are, and you know, you make a valid point about taxpayers, because obviously every decision we make has to have taxpayers, and that's every taxpayer in Hythe Dibden to heart. So we will talk about this probably in great detail as we have in previous meetings, but what you've said is clearly in the front of our minds as we do. Okay, I'm really sorry. It's a bit of a glib answer, you know that, because obviously it's a private session, but I do really appreciate you coming down and sort of sharing your thoughts on that
Yeah.
as well.
I mean, there's quite a few residents here today.
I know.
Some couldn't make it, but we all feel the same. I don't think anybody else wants to say anything.
No, I agree what Dave says. Yeah.
So anyway, something's got to be done. The other thing I would ask, can you let me know the result of your discussions as soon as you can?
Yeah, the minutes will be produced within a week and on the website.
And when?
The minutes will be produced within a week and on the website.
What, in the next coming, not a week before the next council meeting?
No, it'll likely take about 8 days, let's say.
Right,
I think
okay.
there's some bank holidays coming up, aren't there? We'll do them as soon as we can.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
Is there anyone else from Valley residents wish to speak before I go to the next speaker? Yes. Mr. Kitchen, the floor is yours.
Yeah, obviously it was the decision of this council last month to cull the Christmas budget, and that's fine, but can I ask why it wasn't minuted as to what, because obviously Councillor Wade agreed to give it out of his county council budget, and I just want to know why that wasn't minuted, really.
It's GP&F, so this is full council, it would be in the minutes of full council.
I know, but it was discussed at full council, that was when the decision was taken.
It was discussed it wasn't discussed at full council specifically, it was the budget overall. So prior to that, obviously, this council probably had to work on its budget a lot earlier than normal, and we've had lots of working group meetings as individual councillors, and then we had full council, all councillors come in and discuss the budget, and where we focused on the individual issues that we had to make, because obviously if we didn't make any changes, council tax would have been 18%. It would have been way above inflation rise. It's gone under inflation, about 8.9%. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Council tax, 8.9. So the decision was made as a whole with other difficult decisions we had to make. We had a member of the public from Hythe Live come and a trader come and talk to us in GP&F specifically on Christmas lights, but those minutes won't come forward to the next GP&F meeting, as I understand.
The GP&F minutes are already in draft form, I believe, on the website. I seem to remember there being some reference to that, what you're saying, but I think it was a county council grant that was a possibility, and because that's not happened yet, I can't comment on what might not happen in the future, but it was hinted that there might be some much funding likely for that. I think is that what you're referring to at the discussion level?
Yes. Yeah, that's I guess that's what I'm referring to.
And also in addition to that, I think councillors beyond this year, because obviously we need to sort of make an early decision on how to support Christmas lights, because believe it or not, it might only be March, but these decisions and purchases are made really, really early in the year. So moving to future Christmases, the council wants to start looking at how we can fundraise better, more efficiently. It's going to be year after year, it's going to be more and more challenging budget for the council. Lyndhurst, look at what Tottenham do, look at what Lyndhurst do, look at how other councils fund their Christmas lights, working with traders. And I know that councils are going to have a meeting soon to start that process forward. Malcolm, the county council, very generously agreed that approach purely to try and resolve the issue this year, but we do have to have a bigger discussion. Is it related to this topic? Yeah.
Just to let Mr. Kitchen know, the county council grants are a moratorium from February to June. So I said when June comes along, then we'll be able to apply, and I will support a grant. It's match funding, isn't it, up to the crown?
Yes. But my other question was, we obviously, I was told we were going to get a presentation of some form to ask what help you guys can give us over regarding Christmas. How I just don't understand how that's possible regarding when Hythe Live is the one that does the Christmas lights. I was told that Councillor Dowd was going to arrange a presentation on the Christmas lights, but I didn't understand how we could do so when the council wasn't the one that did them.
Do you want me to answer that?
I think that's just a misunderstanding.
Yeah, it was going to be a meeting to be arranged with the council, members of the traders, to discuss how to take it forward. It wasn't a presentation on Christmas lights, it was a discussion how we can fund this sort of going forward. Because times are tight, as you're aware, high inflation, high costs, money's tight, so how can we deal with it going forward? That's what it's about.
Okay, no further questions.
Mr. Slipper, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd really like to speak to you about the Climate and Ecology Bill, which is currently before Parliament, and a campaign group called 0 Hour, which I'm part of, and how the council, should it choose to, can support this bill. The bill itself was introduced to Parliament by Caroline Lucas as a private member's bill. It's completed its first reading, but before it proceeds to the next stage, 0 Hour are building support for the bill to ease its passage through Parliament. So the question may be, why do we need further legislation on climate and nature? Guided by the 2008 Climate Act, we have a goal of achieving net zero by 2050 and have set targets along the route to this destination. However, emissions continue to rise. We have given permission for a new coal mine, we are issuing new licences for oil and gas extraction, and we are expanding air travel. It's really unsurprising that we are way off track to meet our next 3 emissions targets. As for nature and biodiversity, it's a similarly bleak picture. The Environment Act is simply not up to the task of halting the serious decline in nature. And in fact, the UK is in the top 10% of the most nature depleted countries in the world. So the current legislation has failed, and it's obviously not fit for purpose. The Climate and Ecology Bill will combine these interconnected elements of climate and nature into one bill. And as the only bill currently before Parliament, it will ensure a comprehensive and joined-up approach to tackle these 3 emergencies. But most importantly, it includes a legal commitment to deliver policy and action in line with the latest science. So when reintroduced into Parliament this year, 0 Hour are aiming to ease its progress through the House by demonstrating overwhelming support for the bill from councils, scientists, MPs and organisations. To date, there are 218 councils, 149 scientists, 126 MPs and 33 peers who have all declared their support for the bill. So I would ask you to give consideration to adding this council's support to that piece of legislation. To help with that, the 0 Hour website contains full information on both the bill and the campaign and the issues which the bill hopes to tackle. And I would be very happy to speak at a climate committee meeting or whatever could help you to come to a decision as to whether or not to support the bill. So to close, I will just repeat the warning that's already been stated from the IPCC that there is a rapidly closing window of opportunities to secure a livable and sustainable future for us all. And I believe this bill is a vital component of securing that livable future. Thank you.
Well done. Well done. What's the closing date for supporting the bill, Mr. Slipper?
Yeah, I don't think there is at the moment. I think the decision to actually go ahead through Commons will depend on the level of support. I think that's the campaign's aims. So there's no specific date that parties have to announce their support.
So the reason I ask that is the challenge of trying to find the right committees, because you've got us, but you've also got other town and parish councils who I'm sure you might want to engage with down the waterside and the district, for example.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think they've had their environment and sustainability panels for this section of the council. The next one will be post-May. And obviously the county council as well, as the only council not having an election. That might be a good council to get. Councillors Osborne and Wade, please. Might be a good opportunity to engage with them. But the Climate Committee on the 19th of April.
Yeah, very soon.
It's a good opportunity. You can come and speak to there. We can get it on a full council agenda either April or May for official discussion and ratification, and the councils can decide if they can support that. Have I missed anything?
No, but April Climate Committee is the best way that the council can support that application. And you're more than welcome to attend that.
Okay, and that's 7 o'clock here, is it? Or
Can you email me and we can liaise on that?
Yeah, okay, sure, not sure who you are.
I'm Sue, I'm the clerk.
So,
Sue Bailey, I'm the clerk.
Sue Bailey, okay, that's all right, thanks Sue. Yeah, I'll do that.
Really important that you look at this problem. Yeah, absolutely.
So, is there anything else you wish to add?
That's all, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Smith, I do appreciate it. We're now going to move on to item 9, which is councillors to take brief questions from councillors. Councillor McLean, is you yet to speak?
Thank you, Chairman. Would you agree with me that this council should send a vote of thanks to John Carr on congratulating him? I know it's been mentioned 2 or 3 times, because him and the League of Friends played a very, very big part when we first started mooting the idea for a new hospital, and I'm glad to say that I was on the bottom rung, and I'm very proud of that. But I think on behalf of the council and the community, it would be nice if we sent him a letter of congratulations. And obviously the hospital was so proud of him that, as it's been mentioned, he was named on the imaging suite. Do you agree with me,
Chairman, I agree with that totally.
Thank you.
It's all right.
Do you agree with
Yes,
me, Chairman?
I mean, there is nothing else to say but yes, really. I completely agree. I don't think any councillors would disagree on that. I can't think of how long he's been working on that and campaigning and pushing for it. It's
Nearly 13 years. Nearly 13 years. That's when it was first mooted. I was a wee child.
Well, yes, Councillor McLean, thank you very much for that suggestion. Anyone else wish to go to Joyce?
Yes, is Claire aware that Blue Star buses use has not returned to pre-pandemic levels? As a result of this, the number 8 service does stop at Hythe. The number 9 covers the South Waterside, including Cowshot and Langley now, and the service remains on a slightly restricted timetable. And on a Sunday evening, the 9 runs through Marchwood to allow them to have some access to a bus service. It is only 2 hourly, so if you do want to go over town, you better get your timings correct for getting to the bus stop. I had a meeting with them and suggested an alternative route that picks up more people and puts them into slightly safer environments of well-lit estate roads rather than, say, the Roman Road. And this is going to be discussed in May by Blue Star. And one of the disappointing things was that I was informed that the routes down on the waterside suffer more antisocial behaviour than any of the city services that they currently run. And I've suggested that possibly a conversation could be had with our AXOs with regards to the groups of people that are usually the ones that they know are causing problems. So I wondered if there was anything at some point we could discuss, Clark, regarding sort of promoting the use of the buses. Use them or lose them.
Thank you, Councillor Joyce. Councillor Waite.
You're aware, Chairman, today I had a meeting with James Carpenter, who's the new NFDC Strategic Director for Operations, Planning, a whole environment plethora of areas. One of the questions he asked me, one of the things, what should I, because he's new to the area, what should I really focus on? And I advised him to come to the waterside, to look at the A326, to look at the potential for the development here, Dibden Bay, all the rest of it, so that it's now on these radar, that is a significant area that needs to be looked at going forward. Because we are some many challenges and we need to protect our environment from this benefit. But also, Chairman, the NFDC are planning to get a regeneration assistant director. Part of that role will be to work with the Freeport, of which much has been said, to try and get benefits for local people, because the issue about all of this, and put it bluntly, is what's in it for us. What's in it for the local population of the waterside for all the development that's coming, and that's something the district council has not got its eye on the ball on yet, but they need an level of expertise, and they need an officer that's got that experience of dealing with industry, dealing with regeneration, and that's what they're trying to employ. That's what I'd like to know.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for district or county councillors from other councillors? Yeah, I've just got a very quick one for county councillor. Can you escalate the fact I've had no correspondence from officers regards to the state of Knightwood Road and her view, because the potholes are awful, and I've reported that repeatedly outside here between Middle and Waitrose, surfacing, and again, no acknowledgement, and others have reported it according to the county council website. So can we try and escalate that, to the highways manager?
Chairman. Well, Chairman, it may not surprise you, it will take Hampshire County Council 117 years to fix all the pavements in the county, and it will take them considerably longer to fix all the roads. The roads are undertaking a major disrepair because they just haven't got the money. Operation Resilience does attack the worst, fix the worst roads on a regular basis, but the issue with potholes, which is what you're referring to, is a fundamental issue. There are two types of material. The bog standard material that they use, if it rains and then it gets cold, it will disintegrate within a week, and the pothole will come back. And we have many examples of that. The more robust material will only work on very shallow potholes. So we're in a catch-22 situation. They repair, and I'm thinking of the Creek Road one for a start. The one I'm pushing at the moment, the biggest pothole in Hythe Dibden is in it's the road that's the name's around there. Oh, you got to email me again today. It's Knightwood Road. That's it. Knightwood Road. It is massive. It's like a crater at the moon. There are so many. But I am nagging about potholes. The highway manager, half of them come from Alex as well. They are continually, she says, it's on the list, we've got to do it, we've got to do it. Or I don't get a response because I've sent about 10 in a week. But it's not through what I'm trying. But in their defence, I now know I'm on name terms with the highway engineer for our area because I speak to him so often. That they are, he says, yes, I'll go and look at that one, it's on the list to do, I'll do it next week. But if they get a more urgent issue to do on another road, they will do them, they prioritise them based on safety. And that's why I think the one in Knightwood Road needs to be done, because that's very close.
It needs to be an Operation Resilience.
No, Operation Resilience, they allow, I can't remember the exact figure, a figure each year to spend on resurfacing highways. And they go around the county, by area, and allocate the funds. And they do it on the worst roads, because they've done quite a few roads in Hythe Dibden this year, because I've been pushing them a lot. But there is a lot more that needs to be done. But it isn't through want of trying, but we're just going to accept the fact that the roads are so poor, they need so many repairs, it takes time for them to get around to do it.
Thank you, Malcolm. I would say, and we know privately, there's a couple of roads I'd like to see pushed for Operation Resilience. They did Goldenheim Park, which is near where I live a few months ago, and I don't think it needed compared to some others around the area.
Well, the engineers, they obviously don't know as much as we do.
We'll move on, but there was certainly some key roads I'd like to see worked on. Councillor Fairhead and Councillor Osborne.
Chairman, what you said about this road, there is a sign at the end of the road saying that there are road works about to take place out there. So, as you come out St John's, right on the corner, saying about road works to take place.
It's been reported repeatedly, I imagine, by residents. Yeah. Councillor Osborne.
I just wanted to say to the county councillor that the A326 is what worries me. There's a very large pothole actually in the middle of the road, which is where you would go to overtake their motorbike, and I just fear for it not being done sooner. It's not far from the Pegasus crossing.
Okay, well, has it got a white chalk mark around it?
No.
But?
No, I don't think anyone
well, if you email me its exact location, how big it is how deep it is it, you have to have this, is it dinner plate size, car wheel size, or whatever. I need the depth, and the depth is measured either by golf ball, tennis ball. I shouldn't think it'd be a football, I was away from my road. Tell me that information, it's that location, I will report it. If it's got chalk marks around it, means it's been reported, it's on the list, it's haven't got around to doing it yet. But it will be done.
Thank you. So now we're going to move on to item 10, which is council committee dates for 23-24 and the meeting schedule 24 for approval. I'm sure you've all had an opportunity to look at these. Somewhat unusual because obviously some of us won't be councillors, none of us can be councillors come this time, so rather than planning for others, but we have to obviously agree the dates and times. Have we all had an opportunity to read them and have any questions? So can I have a proposal that we're happy with the date and vote? Is there anything you should add to before we...
No, they've been checked and tweaked as much as possible.
Fantastic, thank you very much.
Just a question, have we checked if any of these correspond with the appropriate district council?
I would not know what your district council meeting dates are.
They're on the website.
However, they may be changing panels in the council, so we don't know.
No, I was thinking of the committees, like national council meetings.
No, I think they're as best as we can. So
yeah, we can only do it from a parish council perspective.
And to be fair, we've had some crossover from the committees I've been on.
Can I propose, Chairman, that we accept this pending any modifications we might need to do when the new council takes place?
I don't think we can do that, if I'm honest with you. Sue?
Yeah.
As we don't know who are going to be the councillors from there, I suggest that you
agreed. So, can I have a proposal, please?
Hang on, excuse me.
Councillor
I
Wade.
raised a proposition, and I want to understand.
Okay. That's your proposition. Have you got a second?
Well, I wrote, so not second.
You asked a question, my response was that we don't know who the councillors are going to be. I mean, you can of course discuss a meeting.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about date. Thomas, if we find out that because there will be, whoever they are, 6 different district councillors for Hythe Dibden and 6 who are in this room. So it's a bit pointless having a meeting if we're not pure because 6 of the people are not here. All I'm saying is, can we accept this pending when the new council starts to check if they correspond with any district council meetings?
Yeah.
I mean, that's fairly sensible.
Yeah, the response is that there are 13 parish councillors here and the parish council business has to carry on regardless of who are district councillors, county councillors. And I would just suggest that we have to have something to work to for business to carry on.
I would also add to that the meetings are on Wednesdays, and any committees and panels that meet usually split into groups of 10, and therefore there would, in my experience, there'd be no more than probably 2 or 3 of us on that panel, so therefore we should still be quorum. So then all wish to propose and accept the council dates and minutes that are provided.
Happy to propose.
Can I have all those in favour, please? All those against? And all those abstaining?
I can vote for it. That's enough.
Okay, thank you. So proposed, we then move on to item 11, audits, okay? Would you like to kick off on this, Sue?
Yeah, you've all received the papers and had a chance to please have a look at them. There's the summary risk report. This is the summary report, which is, although it seems long, it's actually the short one. The longer one is more like 100 pages, which we didn't print here. This has to be done for audit purposes, and it's quite a comprehensive document. So happy to take any questions.
So obviously all our risks are medium or low. Do we officers, are they happy? Any concerns with anything that's included in the report?
And we don't do this once a year, it's an ongoing document basically. So this has been tweaked throughout the year to reflect whatever happens throughout the year in terms of risk or changes in situation.
Okay. Do any councillors wish to comment? Okay. There is also an additional document for fixed assets list from 31st of March 2023. Points to here. We've got receive and approve the summary risk report, which forms part of the audit process, and B, which is to receive and approve the asset register for the year ending the 31st of March 2033, which forms also part of the audit requirement. Can we take them in block, or do you want us to take them individually?
It'd be best individually if you can.
Okay, so for item number A, can I have a proposer and a second if we wish to accept them?
I'll propose.
Thank you. Anyone wish to second? So all those in favour to receive and approve the summary risk report that forms part of the audit process? Okay. Anyone against? And any abstentions? Carried. So item B, which is the fixed assets list. So can I have a proposer to adopt, receive and approve the asset register, please? Thank you, Councillor Fair. Any seconders? Thank you, Councillor Lovell. And all those in favour? Any against? And any abstentions? Perfect, so that's approved, this all goes through. Thank you very much for the hard work on that, Sue, and the officers. We now move on to item 12, which is the King Charles III Nature Reserve, to agree to rename the Forest Front Nature Reserve the King Charles III Nature Reserve in honour of the coronation of His Majesty. I nearly said her, didn't I? In May, which is a couple of days after the election. This follows a decision of GP&F, which to rename a section of the Fernhill open space in honour of King Charles III. It transpires that following analysis of the exact mapping data, which was not available at that meeting, that actually very little actual open space would be remaining from the Green Tree Canopy Planting Plan, which had connections to her previous Majesty's Jubilee. As to render the actual physical space available is insufficient to serve justice to the renaming proposal, and in light of the King's strong interest in conservation and the environment, it is proposed that the Forest Front renaming possibility has more benefit and link to the monarch's personal interests. An application will be made to Lord Chamberlain's office for permission following the Council's decision. So you've got the information there in front of you, councillors. Does anyone wish to... Councillor Delamain?
Yeah, as I'm a parish rep along with Councillor Cullen on the Friends of Forest Front, I just wondered if they've been consulted about this.
They have, and they are okay with the idea.
Thank you.
Good question, good answer. Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Fairhead?
Yeah, as the committee have obviously taken their time and looked into this in depth and have come up with this proposal, and as the clerk just said, there's no objection from the residents of the area. I think we should just go ahead and vote on it and do it.
Before I come to Councillor Dowd, I will clarify the committee had a different proposal, but obviously officers have discovered that actually it might have more benefit to pick a different location. We discussed Fernhill, didn't we? So, but yes, thank you. Councillor Dowd and Councillor Wade.
Yes, I would just underline the fact that I think it's a good opportunity for the area to be aware of the Forest Front Nature Reserve and support the work that's being done there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dowd. I think it's a beautiful location. I would mention I used to walk my dog there every day, but I always get told off for mentioning walking my dogs when we talk about open spaces. Councillor Malcolm Wade, your turn.
Chairman, this is a good example of the council making an initial decision in a meeting, and then revisiting it with a much better suggestion, which is always have a plan B, which is what's going on at the meeting, so we don't go over that. So the idea of it is that this will be a good commemoration of King Charles III, and we'll use to enhance the site that needs a bit of help and support, and hopefully attract more attention through it by doing it this way.
Thank you. I completely agree with that point. Does anyone else wish to comment? So can I have a proposal, please?
I propose we do it.
Okay, well, I saw many hands go up, so lots of people. So can I vote all in favour that we propose to rename the Forest Front Nature Reserve the King Charles III Nature Reserve? You all your hands up before I finish the sentence. Any against, please? And any abstentions? Okay, so it's proposed. Can I also thank the officers? I'm guessing Marcus had a big hand in providing this, among others, as an alternative suggestion. So please pass on my thanks to Marcus and the team, okay? Thank you, Sue. So we now move on to item 13, which is to do with the Southampton Freeport area. To note the need for general vigilance and monitoring of any activity in order that positive outcomes can be gained for this community. This is a request from the GP&F committee, which Councillor Malcolm Wade chairs. So really this is probably an item that you wish to speak on, is it?
Well, yes, thank you, Chairman. Part of the Southampton Freeport initiative will be given, as it was given APB Freeport rights in Dibden Bay. And those people, some are in this chamber now, will remember this council, along with the Hampshire County Council, District Council, fought a long and hard campaign to prevent a container port being built on Dibden Bay back in the late 90s. Which is why we voted against the Freeport, because we didn't want Dibden Bay to be developed, and with all the challenges for the area that we did. The rest of it is fine, but not there. So it is what it is, but it's really important that this council has the Freeport on its radar. The potential development impact on the water side is staggering. I'm under any illusion, if all of their plans come to fruition, it will change the face of this part of the district. The level of development will be nearly akin to the development of the refinery and the chemical works since World War II. There are already APB approved solar gateway, which is going from 63 HG movements a day to 503. There are Freeport rights in the refinery, which is fine. That Freeport rights have been given to the Forley waterside development, which will generate alone 13,000 vehicle movements a day on the A326. Freeport rights have been given to Marshall Port, and they've got Freeport rights to the APB development on APB Strategic Land Reserve on Dibden Bay. That may well bring over their car business. Other impacts on this then will be potential of a feeder road from Dibden Bay combining with Marshall Military Port onto the A326. Now they'll be very cagey, Hampshire, about this, because when we had a meeting about this, they didn't mention this until I raised it, because I could see what's behind this. Or they said, no, yes, we have got plans for that, but they're not developed yet. This road exists. It could very well be somewhere just north of Veals Lane. That anybody that lives in Veals Lane will notice a massive amount of foliage has been removed, which is an entrance to the Solent Gateway up to Veals Lane. Veals Lane is not suitable for HGV traffic, so there has to be another road. This is all part of this Dibden Bay development, and it's really important that this is on this council's radar, so we can work with the district and the county and everyone else to make sure that the development isn't too intrusive for local residents, and we get some benefit, which as I was referring to earlier with the regeneration officer, for local people, for the development and the disruption that this will bring. Because don't be under any illusion, it's Forley waterside, besides having loads and loads of 1,200 houses, there's going to be manufacturing there, maritime manufacturing and other niche businesses which will generate a lot. Half of the land at Solent Gateway will be turned into manufacturing sites with Freeport rights. So there are tax breaks and other breaks, which is big benefits for business, good for them. We want to make sure there are benefits for local people. You need to have people switched on and know what's going on to be able to ensure that happens. That's why it's got to be on our radar. That's why this council should be interested in what goes on.
But thank you for that. I actually completely share your concern there, Malcolm, and I do appreciate you raising it and discussing it, and people can hear the sort of the concerns that we've had. I do think engaging with NFTC planning officers, whoever in the core roles come the new election, and obviously anyone that's still on this parish or district council, it's very important that we continue to realistically argue for as sympathetic actions towards our parish and community and the environment. I'll come to you in a moment, Vicky, thank you. But yes, I completely agree. It is something to be conscious of. Obviously, I don't know what impact, if any, the neighbourhood plan can have on sort of mitigating any issues within our that come from the Freeport. But again, the new council will have to meet with the right people and engage and have an early presentation on it when they're elected. But there is obviously much we can do now for obvious reasons. But the new council will have to be very cognizant of it, and the new district council representatives, whoever they may be. You're next.
I don't know what I was going to say now. I was about to say. One of the things that had been brought to my attention was that at the last battle it was considered by the former head of planning of NFDC that this parish council was the main instigator of the battle, and without that was right. So I think we do need to consider that we still need to fight. It will be a application that is a national infrastructure level, which means it might not go to district.
Well, it will be Secretary of State.
Secretary of State, which means we do need to make sure that if we are going to go into battle about it, that as residents here, if we don't want it, we do need to make that very, very clear out in the community.
It's also worth noting, to play devil's advocate, we also have to understand what residents wider views as well. There's a quite strong view from this council from one side, but we also have to be truly reflective of what residents. There are some in the community who would welcome development in Dibden Bay, but most of the people I speak to don't. But we have to be acutely aware that we're fully representative in our discussions and arguments on this. Is there anything else to add before we move on to the finance? Okay, anyone else wish to speak on the Freeport discussion? Thank you. So we're now going to move on to the finance 2022-2023. Firstly, it's to receive the bank reconciliation reports from December 22 to February 23. We will then approve the accounts for payment for January and February 23. And lastly, to receive the investment report for quarter 3. Can we vote on block or vote individually? Separately. Okay. You should have all had an opportunity to have a read of this. Did they all have any questions, any challenges, any concerns?
Good financial management as usual.
Okay. So in that case, can I have a proposal to accept the bank reconciliation reports from December 22 to February 2023, please? Seconded, please. All those in favour? Thank you. We now move on to item B, which is to approve the accounts for payment from January and February 2023. Does anyone have any concerns? Awkward silence. Okay, so can I have a proposer and a seconder, please? And all those in favour, please raise your hands. So accepted. And lastly, to receive the investment report for quarter 3. Can I have a proposal to accept this, please, and adopt it? Okay, all those in favour? Thank you ever so kindly. And anyone against? And any abstentions? Thank you very much. So that brings to the end of the open section of the meeting. So unfortunately the next section is exclusion of press and public. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. It was a really good attendance, and I hope everyone has a good evening and stay tuned.